today, what we're going to do, it's kind of broken up into some different sections here. In just a moment, Augustine will tell us a little bit, give us just an update on the alumni school situation. And so he'll be talking about that. And then Maddie and Jen will be talking about how they successfully have used technology integration in their classroom and how it helped with student engagement and student achievement. So that's going to be, I'm excited to hear about that, mostly because I'm a math teacher. But it's going to be great to be able to get some the boots on the ground talking about it. So that's great. And then we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have some drawings, some raffles. I forget what the word is that we're supposed to say, but it's one of those. And then once we come back from a break, then each of the schools is going to give us kind of a little history lesson on how they got to school home and where they're at right now. And so I kind of already seen some of the presentations and they're awesome. And it was good to read up on the history, especially I think Scott's going to talk about netbooks. That takes you way back. And then we'll give you some time after that to just do a little team planning. And I have some stuff that I'll just kind of go over. And then after that, we'll end the night. And then that'll be it. So got a lot of good stuff going on. And so we'll start off right now with Augustine. And he'll tell us a little bit about the alumni schools.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to join us. Wow, I can't believe it's almost the end of the school year. I'm glad that things are getting back to normal, but we still have a lot of difficulties. You guys are on the front line, so as always, we really commend you for all the work that you do, and going above and beyond for your families, for your students. You guys are really an inspiration to all of us. And, we're always thinking about how we can be helpful to the schools and, the districts and things like that. So when we set out with School to Home, when we set out to partner with certain districts, we really try to figure out who were the sort of the pioneers, if you will, in certain areas where we can have a foundation to work with to achieve what we try to do, which is supporting schools, Title I schools, with their successful integration of technology. I know that there's been a lot of progress that has been made because of the interest in technology, and the other part also because of the circumstances have created a need to use more and more technology. And what we always are focused on is helping our schools identify the most effective way to use technology so that it could serve or fulfill its promise as a powerful tool that helps enhance instruction and address the needs that students have, by identifying, best practices, providing some foundational training, some guidance and things like that, but also by spotlighting some successes from our school partners. So it's helping out on the instructional side. And I think what distinguishes us from other technology programs is also the focus on parents, and in particular, using technology as a tool to encourage schools to deepen their relationship with parents. Parent engagement is one of the confirmed strategies for raising student achievement. So working with each school, not just to do the training of parents in different areas, but to also reflect on how they can create a better environment that's more conducive for collaboration, and parents are feeling welcome and things like that. And, we've made a lot of progress. You guys have all made a lot of progress. I've seen a lot of successes, and, we're looking to transition out, as you well know, When Renee was working with us, she made the case for having the TOSA position. So we funded the TOSA. Nadine, who's done a great job, and Steve, who's done a so-so job, but he tries. Working with him to support the schools as much as possible. So I think we've been able to deliver some real timely support to all you by way of their engagement, and they definitely have a lot of knowledge and commitment to this, and I think their efforts have really made a difference. So we talked to the district, we talked about extending the time of the TOSA. There are some remaining funds, but the decision was made not to go with the TOSA for that additional year. So we have been really looking at before saying, okay, we take back the funds, we want to make good use of those funds. So what we thought about doing, what we have talked to Dr. Perez about, has been to use that for RUSD, for the district to develop some convenings, kind of a design team, made up, very much driven by the district, made up by the district staff, school site staff, administrators, parents, and community stakeholders that could meet periodically and really figure out, how is it that we can take some of the lessons learned, some of the successes that we have seen at the school sites in using technology, to really tailor the supports, to really continue to make it work for our USD. So to develop a sort of a plan for either adjusting or enhancing the systems of support that the districts have. So, our funds would be used for those convenings to compensate people for attending those convenings. So that way people can say, what does parent engagement, what does successful parent engagement look like at our schools? What are some of the strategies that we think should be implemented? What does success mean? I know that there are other initiatives happening in the district, so hopefully be able to tie everything together. That I think makes the most amount of sense. What are the metrics that we should be looking at to assess whether or not we're being successful in the different areas, whether it's supporting teachers or supporting parents and things like that. How do we measure increased parent engagement? How do we measure teachers being more comfortable and more comfortable using technology and really doing it in a way that's helpful in their specific areas and things like that. So it would be using the funds for those convenings. It would actually be enough to do it for a couple of years, so that there's some recommendations that could be implemented across the district, using some of the funds for piloting if there's things that need to be piloted, for incentives for things like, work with parents and things like that. So in general, that's what we propose to the district. We would like for the district also to continue the work of these sessions where you're highlighting successful technology integration or work with parents as well. So the funding can be applied for any type of district-based learning communities to elevate those good practices. So there's a lot of opportunities, and I know Jackie was going to circle back with you all principals to kind of figure out how and whether you wanted to be part of that. There's also an opportunity to recruit others, not to implement school to home, but rather to be part of this design process. So are there any questions or any thoughts about that? Recommendations? Okay. So, and then part of what we want to do with CETF, we want to continue to have ways to stay connected to our schools, our alumni schools, what we're referring to, and this is what we would consider Riverside schools. So having them be part of the network, having meetings. We originally wanted to focus on really being as supportive as possible to our school leaders because they're really going through a lot of challenges. We still haven't really defined how we would do that. We would, have opportunities for folks to come together, network, kind of talk about things that are working, challenges and things like that, but it'd be a little bit more informal than what we have had now. But that's also, more to come to see if that's something that you'd like to continue to stay involved in as well. And I know Steve will kind of recap in your individual meetings or in your meetings that he has with you as a team. But, just in general, I just want to say thank you to all of our RUSD colleagues and Scott Porter, who is the longest serving member of any of the teams. Seems like only yesterday, right? We were hanging out at the Q conferences. So it's been great. I'm looking forward to hearing what, if the district does move forward with these convenings and design teams. I think there's a lot of expertise within the district, and giving you guys the space and the resources to meet and talk about and develop things that are appropriate for you all, I think can be very helpful. So we definitely want to stay connected with that and hear what you guys come up with. All right.
All right. Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Augustine, for the update. And we can talk more about it too when we meet, principals meeting, things like that. So we'll get you all up to date. Now, there's three things we really kind of look at. We look at getting parents involved into the schools, and then trying to make sure that everyone has some kind of affordable internet access for them. And then the other one that we really look at too is how can we integrate technology into the classroom, and in meaningful ways, not, you finished early, here, you can play math blasters. And so we've gone beyond that. And so now we're just need to see, hey, how's it working in other classrooms? And so I reached out to two of our people here, that's Jen and Maddie, and because they came on high recommendation that they're killing it in the classroom, so no pressure. So I thought this would be a good time to just let a couple of our teachers shine. Let them tell us what they're doing in the classroom, and to have that integration, to have that student engagement and student achievement. So Maddie or Jen, it doesn't matter which one wants to go first. Which one? Jen.
Yeah, is Jen staying the whole meeting? Because if she's not, she can go first.
Oh, okay.
It's fine either way. I don't mind going first, Maddie. If you want to go for it. It's all good. I'm good.
Go ahead, Jen. I saw you raise your hand.
Okay, sure. Why not? All right. Well, hello, everybody. It's nice to see you or meet you. If I haven't met you before, my name is Jen Shenton. I teach math at uni. I am going to be demonstrating for you folks some ways that I use Desmos in the classroom. And so if you're familiar with Desmos, it's mostly known as a platform for either as a calculator or using activities for math. But it can also be used, and I'm going to give you some links at the end, including one to a crazy awesome Facebook group. There we go. It's the end of the day. We did testing today. It's been a day. That has resources for lots of different subject areas. So while it does tend to target math, it is used in a lot of different areas. And what I wanted to demonstrate was not so much the logistics or like how do you create an activity or something like that, but I wanted to show you how to use Desmos to create better discussion in classroom and how to give feedback to kids that is productive to them. So, see, I can share my screen, right, Steve?
Yes.
I've got here. So two things. Number one, I am going to ask you to interact with a student Desmos activity. So I'm going to put the link for that into the chat. And don't be intimidated. It's 7th grade math, but it's very open-ended. And I just want to have some input so that I can show you how I can give feedback or how I might use it in a classroom to foster discussion with the kids, especially at the beginning of a lesson for math. So let me put where's the chat here? There it is. Okay, so I'm going to put a link in the chat here. Okay, so it should say student Desmos link, and you should just be able to click on that and join. It may ask you to log in with your Google sign in, and so you can just use that. And then, there we go. So I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of you already in there. The agenda is there, but I'm going to block you off here. I'm going to give you about 3 minutes. I'm trying to think here. So your slide should have just changed. I'm going to give you all about 3 minutes there. And what I want you to do is just look at the slide that you're on and kind of play with. There's a little couple of angles that you can play with there and just answer the question. So it says move the cursor over the graph to change angle A and angle B. And it's got 2 very important open-ended questions. What do you notice? And what do you wonder? So just take a moment and play with that. And then give me some what do you notice and what do you wonders? And I'll just be quiet and give you a couple of minutes to do that. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can share my screen here. So the idea is this is sort of an opening that you might do at the beginning of a class where you're trying to introduce something and you want an entry point for every kid. You don't want it to be very vocabulary heavy. You just want to see what they recognize about a subject that you might be teaching. And so, let's see if I can do this here. Sorry, I'm on a different platform than I normally use. So let me see if I can share this here screen. Okay.
We got it.
Got it. Okay, there we go. All right. So after students have, had a few minutes to think about this, I'm gonna, so thank you for sharing. And then I might put a few of these up on the screen. And I'll show you the background of this in a minute. But the idea is that you can take all of the students' thoughts that they put in there. And then the idea is you can use them to generate conversation. I also like to put up some usually that have math vocabulary and some that don't, right? Because there's going to be some like pick ones that the students can relate to. So there might be some kids in class that when they were playing with the angles might have noticed, hey, I noticed when A goes up, B goes down. And they may not have the vocabulary of the angles or the degrees or that kind of thing, versus like a student like the first one where it said the degrees increase or decrease depending on the way you drag the mouse. And then you've always got the smarty pants at the bottom there who says, oh, the angles A and B are supplementary, right? But then wonders about the colors and those kind of things, right? You can sometimes, even if you're looking to guide the conversation towards a certain thing, you might order them in a certain way. And I'll kind of show you how you can do this in a moment. But you can take things that like, oh, we're going to talk about that today. So spoiler alert, this is a lesson about complementary and supplementary angles, right? I haven't introduced the words yet. I haven't said anything yet. I'm just like, here's some angles, play with them. What do you notice? So without me as the teacher having to get up and say, good morning, class. Today we're going to, here's the definition of the angles. Now let's go identify them. Instead, this is an entry point for everybody So the kid that might have the more simple vocabulary about it now has kind of seen some scaffolded vocabulary, and then you can continue on with the lesson. You can pose a question. You might have them, if there's an interesting I wonder, you might have them have that discussion, like turn to your neighbor and talk about this part here. Or how do you think that ties in? Or what do you think of this comment? Or could you add something to it or say it another way? And so this is a really neat, simple way to do this. I'll show you also why snapshots are nice. That's what this is called, because it's also nice to have for the students who want to put something on there that you don't want to share. Oh, Steve, you changed it. You had something else on there, I think, earlier. Somebody had something on here. Who was it? It was, oh, there it is. Oh, Scott, that's who it was. It was Scott Porter. So if you have a Scott Porter, can you guys see on my screen here? You're always going to have that one student, right? I noticed the two angles are always equal to 180. I wonder if potatoes have skin, we have skin, are we potatoes? So you're always going to have that one kid. So it's nice to be able to kind of control what you can and can't see. But the idea is, so what you can see on your screen now is what I see while you're working. And I can see you typing immediately and going through. And while your students are answering the question, you can be going through and going, oh, that's a good one. That would be. And then all you have to do is check their name. And if you uncheck it, it disappears, right? So you can see off on the right-hand side there where it has what you want. So if I want any of these, that would go away. And so then as soon as you check on it, right, it comes up over here. And I think you can have up to 4 that you can show at once. So you can just, and then just click present. That's it. There's nothing that has to be planned ahead of time. You just can pull that up while the kids are working and do that. If you want to add a question, you can click up at the top and type your question in here. If you want to actually put something in there, like what do you notice? What do these all have in common? Or is there anything you would add to them? Or whatever the topic is. But the idea is it's a quick, easy way to scaffold vocabulary and different entry points for different students. And then when you jump into the next slide, which I'll put up the student version here, and we say, okay, so now we're actually going to figure out, right? You notice they add to 180. Great. So if I give you one of these and tell you one of the angles is 57, how would you find the measure of the other angle, right? And you didn't have to tell them that. They had that conversation for themselves. So it's a great way to introduce a lesson to get them to plug in their previous knowledge without you having to start the discussion off. They start the discussion, you just kind of curate it. So that was one of the ways that I use Desmos. Does anyone have any, I'm just kind of pause there because I feel like I've been talking a lot. Does anyone have any questions about anything that they've seen that they'd like me to answer before I show? There was one other little thing I wanted to show on here, but did anyone have any questions? Let's see.
Hey, Jen, was this one that you built yourself, or is it one of the classroom activities that's already pre-built?
Yeah, so this is an actual activity from our adopted curriculum in Riverside Unified from the illustrative math curriculum. And I just took it and turned it into an activity. So that's not what I'm teaching today. If you're interested in that, I'll share some links at the end if you want to learn how to create your own, absolutely, or how to find ones that are already made. There's tons of them. But yeah, this is one that I created myself. Yeah. Okay. All right. So one more thing that I want to show, and I'm going to ask you to interact with this one more time. So if you'll go back to your version, I've moved you to a new slide, and it's got another question. That's which angle is bigger, A or B? And then you're going to have to justify your reasoning. So just take a moment. And you can make a selection there. If you want to interact with them first, you can drag them around here. And then just take a moment and give your reasoning for why. And then I have one more thing I want to show you of how you can do private or public feedback with students based on a slide in Desmos. All right, so I just for this one want to demonstrate a couple of ways that you can give immediate feedback to kids. So one way would be public. So that's why I chose for this one a multiple choice question, because you can display for the kids what everybody answered. Kind of like you can do in Pear Deck, but you can do something similar here. Now, if you're not, so if I think it should be on my screen, you should be able to see my version of it. Let me go from student to teacher here. Now on my side, if I don't anonymize the students, their names will display. So if you don't want the kids' names, because it'll show who chose what, there is an anonymized feature over on the left side here, and you can click and it changes it to the names of mathematicians. So if you don't want to display their names, especially if it's like in this one, there's 1 versus 10, sometimes the one all of a sudden click and they'll change it because they see they're the only one who selected that. So you don't want to necessarily do that. So there's that. So that's one way you can give public feedback and kind of to show where everyone's thinking is. And sometimes there's more than one right answer. So you might be a good way to have discussion. The other way, and I didn't have a lot of time to do all of it, but I did give feedback to one student. And so what you can do is you're reading these, right? So I just kind of went with the first one here, Annie Easley is what it's showing on my screen. And it says, because when you put A over B, A disappears. And there's a part down there that says because A, B ate A. And there's this little triangle here. That triangle means that I actually went in and I selected that student's name and I gave them some feedback. So, and I'll show you how I did that in a minute, but I was like trying to get them to think about, well, when you say disappear, what do you mean it disappeared, right? And so then I noticed now that there's more that was added because B8A, well, so that's the idea though. So if you ever want to give feedback publicly, you can kind of show the responses that everybody did. If you want to give feedback privately to a student, you can just click on their name and this same menu pops up where you have the snapshots, but now instead of the bottom, you can actually type in here a question or a follow-up, and then they'll have something that they can respond to, and it'll pop up on their screen that you have something that you want them to revise or just think about, or you can just say good job or whatever you want to do there. So that's just a couple of ways that I use Desmos online. I used it this way, and I use it this way in the classroom, just with the kids right there in front of me, so that I can get a quick kind of feel for where they are, where their understanding is, and be able to kind of generate discussion and give them feedback right away to get them kind of thinking and extend their mathematical thinking. And again, this will work for math. It works for other subject areas as well. So that's it for me as far as the Desmos demonstration. If you want more information about Desmos, I did put in here on my agenda some resources. And so I want to put a link to that in the chat. Do that real quick here. And then unless you guys have any questions, let me stop my share. Sorry, thank you for the grace. And we're going to put that in there. Okay, so I put post links in by accident. But the first one is the agenda with the resource links. So there's links in there back to the teacher version of what I just demonstrated to you, that file, if you want to look at it from the teacher side, so you can take it and play with it. And then I put some links in there also to Desmos, where you can search for your own activities. If you're interested in creating your own, you can, but that's a whole other class. So yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Jen. I appreciate you coming in and doing that. As a former math teacher, I kind of geek out over that kind of stuff, but I loved the way that you didn't just give them a supplementary angle is this, a complementary angle is this degrees. That's how add them together, they equal 180, whatever. You didn't do that. You encouraged that thinking, and by using the technology that you had available. And so that was very good. I enjoyed it, listening to it, Jen. And so I appreciate that. Is there anything anybody has for Jen? You got a lot in the chat there, Jen. Thank you for what you did there. So thank you so much. And
thank you.
And we're happy. I'm happy that you came and stuck around. You're more than welcome to stick around. If you like, we do have a drawing right after the break.
Okay. Well, and I'd also love to hear what Maddie's got, because I'm always interested in new ideas. So I'd love to stick around for a little while and hear everybody else. Great. Yeah, definitely. Great. Thank you. Okay.
All right. Hey, Maddie, it is you. And Maddie's going to tell us about GimKit and how she's using it in the classroom. So Maddie, take her away.
Thanks. So GimKit was actually used by Steve at, I think, our first regional meeting at the beginning of the year when we were at the district office. It was just a quick little blurb, and students can get very bored with routine. So it's a gamification system. I'm going to see if I can present my screen. It's been a while. All right. We're okay? Cool.
Yep.
It's a way to gamify, practice, review, anything like that. Similar to Blookit, Kahoot, quizzes, anything like that. But, I'll hear, I'm so sick of Kahoots. I'm so sick of Blookit. And then they're back on Kahoot. And then they want this. And then they want that. So it's just another tool to have for when students are kind of in a slump of the same kind of routine, because then it's like, oh, I've done, Kahoot 3 times this week in my different classes. So it just kind of gives you some variation. So it's a digital platform for practice or review. I'm also a 7th grade math teacher. So this is something that I know our content area is always screaming for, is just to get students engaged and actually wanting to practice. And in honor of Financial Literacy Month, the month of April, I did want to point out that it does incorporate some financial literacy, because students are earning cash or some variation of cash, and they have to decide how they want to spend it on power-ups or different, little fun power-ups that they can use to benefit them throughout the game. There's a wide variety of game modes. So even if GimKit is what you're sticking to, you can choose a large variety of different games. I'm going to show you some of the most popular ones that I've noticed in my class. And the best thing is you can assign it as a live session in class, or I call them independent practice, but in GimKit, it's actually called homework. So you can assign different assignments for students to practice outside of classroom as well, individually. So I just put a little screenshot of what my homepage of my dashboard of GimKit looks like. So you'll see here, you can search for pre-made kits. That's what these little stacks are called, or kits. And there is a huge, huge library of kits that are available. And similar to Jen and her Desmos, there's a lot of open up resource, our district curriculum for math aligned kits available. Or you can create your own. I don't like to reinvent the wheel when it's available. So that's been very helpful for me as well. And I know it aligns with our curriculum and our standards. So it just goes hand in hand. Once you find a kit you like, you can choose how you want to assign it, as a live game or as an independent assignment. And depending on time, because I haven't looked at the agenda, we might get to play around with it for a little bit at the end. Okay. Oh, did I skip one? I did. So game modes, this is when I play it live within my class. These are the different games you can play. And this is a screenshot. There's more. This is really great for getting students engaged in the practice because they want to beat each other, they want to win, and they want to earn the most power up. So they're really determined to try and figure out those answers and get them correct so that they can earn that money, power ups, fish. They want the new fishing rod. They want a new backpack. There's all kinds of little cool stuff that they want. Depending on what the unit or the assignment or the topic is, I'll give students whiteboards with whiteboard markers. And so I can walk around and see them working out each problem. And that's my hint to go in and see how they're doing or what misconceptions I might be noticing in the moment. But the top game modes that I've noticed in my class so far, this new one is called Tag Domination. So when the students log in, it automatically separates them into 2 groups. And every 2 minutes, I think it is, the students take turns tagging each other. So they have to run around this little platform and go tag the other team. But in order to have energy to run around, they have to answer questions correctly. So as they answer questions, they're earning energy to be able to run. If they run out of energy, they can't move. And then they're at risk of being tagged, or they can't go run and chase their friends. This is a newer one, so we played it a few times, and they seem to have moved on from Fishtopia, which was our previous fan favorite for the last few months. Fishtopia is another one. It's not as action-packed, but the kids love it because they have to earn money and bait to go fishing. So they walk around, there's a little platform that they walk around in, and they have to answer questions to earn bait, and then they can go fishing. But there's rare fish. So the kids are just obsessed on who can get the rarest fish. And then they can sell their fish to earn money. They can use their money to buy new rods or better bait or a bigger backpack to hold more fish. And they can buy tickets to go to a different island, which probably has rare fish. And at the end of the game, they always want to see like who had the rarest fish, who caught the most fish. So it keeps them engaged the whole time. Or you can hear them like, I caught another common fish, whatever it is. So this one's a little less fast paced as the tag game, but students really enjoy that one and they love collecting things. And then a fan favorite, you can never go wrong with this one, is called Trust No One. And it is similar along the lines of Among Us. So if you're not, I don't know how Among Us is played amongst children outside of the classroom, but in Trust No One, when students log in, 2 students are randomly selected to be imposters. And so I always tell them like, hide your screen so no one can see. And they'll be told if they are an imposter on the spaceship or if they're a crewmate. And so you don't know who it is. And students have to answer questions and earn these little lightning bolts so that they can investigate their classmates. And then you can call meetings and they take a vote on who they think the imposter is. And when they investigate their classmates, they get hints like if they're cleared or not, or it's been cleared, this person's been cleared by somebody else. And so at the end of the game, they get 2 tries, I think, to guess who the 2 imposters are. And if both of them are not found by the end of the game, then the imposters win. And if the crewmates, the rest of the class, are able to kind of narrow down and guess who the 2 imposters are, then the crewmates win. So it's a classroom-friendly Among Us style game. This one, if you notice in my screenshot, there's some games down here like The Floor is Lava, Human versus Zombies. These are GimKit Pro exclusive games. So these are games that are only available if you pay for the Pro version. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what that is in a couple of slides. But up at the top, Tag Domination, Fishtopia, Classic, they have a Jeopardy style game. Those are all available on the free version as well. Homework. So assigning homework, the way that I use this in my class is I give 3 independent practice activities a week. I will try to throw in a GimKit when we're nearing the end of a unit, or if I notice that we need some additional practice in one area that we've really been working on in class and I want to see how they can do independently. I wouldn't necessarily assign this for new content, but definitely spiraled content. But the best part about this is that you can get really great reports on your students. So when you assign a GimKit, you can import your Google Classroom. You can push assignments to Google Classroom, and then you can look at these classes and the reports. It'll tell you when they completed it, how long they spent on it, You can set either a time limit that you want them to reach to complete the assignment or an amount of cash that they earned. I usually set it to around 30 minutes max. So they either play for 30 minutes or they reach $100,000, whatever you want to set it at. And it'll give you the accuracy at which they were answering the questions. I'm going to move this little camera. Within the report for the class, you'll see this little button and it has like a little data bar graph. If you click on that, it will actually give you individualized reports for that student. But on this side, if you click view report, it'll give you a class report with more detail. So if I click on view report, this is what I'll see. I'll have an option to look at a student overview. It'll tell me how many questions they were getting correct, how many they got incorrect, and the percentage at which they are answering them accurately. And you'll notice that there's a wide variety of questions that were given, and that's to differentiate between the students who are just flying through them. They're going to be answering more questions to hit that cash goal, or they just have to play longer, opposed to people, the student, he answered 15 correctly. And they can use their money to earn power-ups, things like that. So it does differentiate to an extent for students, which is nice. But you can also do a general overview and you can look at a question breakdown. So for me as a teacher, I use the question breakdown as well to identify which question students were struggling in, so that I know to go back or identify those misconceptions. And then the student overview helps me identify the students that were struggling with this assignment. Is that it? Oh, the last thing, you can print it. So that's always helpful because I need pen and paper. I like to highlight. I like color coding so I can identify like which students I kind of need to either group or meet with, small group, thing like that. So you can print it, which has been nice. So helpful hints when you first log in. Like I said, there's a large bank of pre-made kits. So this was just a screenshot. I typed in search dilations since I'm doing an 8th grade unit on dilations. And it will pull up however many dilations categories there are, and you'll get a preview of what the questions are. You can make copies of these pre-made GIM kits, and you can edit them to your liking. You can take questions out, you can add questions, you can change answer choices, you can change pictures, you can add pictures. So even if you're not happy with a particular kit that you find, you can still make a copy of it and adjust it and edit it to make it useful for yourself. And teachers can make their own kits. Like I said, I want to work smart, not hard, but it does have the capabilities to import Quizlets. And I'm not familiar with Quizlets. I've never really used it, but I do have teachers on campus that I know are more familiar with it. So I thought that would be a good selling point for some teachers who have spent time creating all these GIM or these Quizlets. You can actually import those Quizlets into a GIM kit and it'll convert it for you. Or if you have a spreadsheet, you're able to import questions from a spreadsheet as well. The difference between the free version and the pro version, the only difference is that you get access to certain exclusive games. The reports, ability to create classes, anything like that is still available in the free version. But you'll notice that like the Among Us games, some of the more popular games that the kids are really into or playing are exclusive to the pro version. But it's $59.88 a year. I splurged on that this year because it was cheaper than a lot of the other ones that I was using. And I took a poll from the class to see which GIM kit, Blooket, Kahoot they enjoyed the most. And it was overwhelmingly GIM kit. They ask for it all the time. They want to do it. So I splurged for that. And it's been great just to have those games available. But if you're not into it or you want to test it out, the free version does just as much great things. Like I said, you can create classes and then push the assignments to Google Classroom, Remind, email, Microsoft Teams. And I have the newcomers this year. So something that's been wonderful is that it will translate into other languages. So in your settings, you can allow Google to translate anything that you create into their home language if that's something that would be needed for your class. You can also change the currency, which I thought was cool. So if you want to investigate different currencies, you can set the currency to be whatever you would like.
That when I was using GimKit, unfortunately, I wasn't in the classroom, so I was doing it with teachers and working with Cal Baptist students with it. But a couple of things. One, it was developed by a high school student. He just got tired of the other ones and he wanted to gamify it some more. So he decided to do it, and then he ended up making it a business. And then another thing that's really good about both what Jen said and what Maddie said is both of these would work really well in a station rotation model. So you could have a station that had GimKit. You could have a station that they were working on a Desmos activity. So it's not just independent and everyone's working by themselves. You could also incorporate it into a station rotation model. And then Maddie hit on it, and so did Jen, about getting that data so quickly and then being able to adjust your instruction for the next day to help out those students that were struggling. And so that's where the station rotation model comes in, because you could have those small group instructions working with those kids while the others are working. So thank you so much. So
yeah. Are you okay? Can you guys see my new screen?
yes.
Okay, perfect. So if you go to gimkit.com/join, it'll take you to a page to enter a code. And then our code is 824965. And then here's my little guy. You can type in your name. I usually assign it to my class so students aren't able to choose their own name. So that's always a wild card. And you can just walk around. So supported, Jen. And once we get enough people, and this is the tag. So here's where you can purchase upgrades. And right here where it says gain energy, you can come up here and it'll show you at the bottom left-hand side of your screen, it'll say answer questions. So if you want to start earning energy, you got to start answering questions. Let's start. So you'll get your team name and you'll start off in like a holding deck. So I'm green right now and I'm out of energy. So the green team, my name's in green. I'm looking for the team in red, but I ran out of now I've got some energy. I want to go fight some more time. Team. Oh. So I just tagged Augustine. So this is just a fun game. When you have 30 kids running around in here, it's probably a little more lively, but that's the gist of it. You can get all these energy upgrades so that you can earn energy quicker, or you can have to tag longer. And the kids know more about the power upgrades than I know. So they're all into it, but that's pretty much the gist of it. If you guys had any other questions, I don't know how much time is left because my screen sharing is really crazy right now.
All right. Other than I couldn't move my guy, I couldn't figure out how to move him, but I can see where that would be very engaging, and the students wanting to do something like that. So thank you, Jen and Maddie, for doing that and just giving us some great tips on how to use that. And if you don't mind, we're taping this, and I would love to put it on our Wakelet that we have, if that's okay with Maddie and Jen, if we take that and put that on there. And so that would be awesome. Right. Hey, welcome back, everybody. What I wanted to do, since this is our last one this year, is to have you guys just kind of each site to give us kind of a history of where they came from with School of Home and where they're at right now. And so each of the school sites put together a slide presentation for us. And this is the time that we're going to go ahead and have you do it. So I don't know who wants to go first.
Yep, I'll go first, Steve.
Okay,
beat into it.
Boy, it was close though. It was close. All right, Scott, I think you have the ability to share your screen.
Okay, yeah, I see it. All right, so I wanted to talk a lot about what we did that first year in 2010. So I shared a bunch of, you'll see I've shared a bunch of resources from then. And then I'm gonna talk about where we're at now at the end. But I'm not sure if some of you are aware of where we started, so that's why I wanted to share where we did start off. So this was an RUSD tech plan that was written in 2010. One of the funny things is when it was written, we were doing the Vision 2020 because we thought in 10 years, all of this would just be normal everyday occurrences in the classroom in RUSD. And like if you read through it, you can kind of see we're there in a lot of areas, but especially at the last paragraph, it talks about having student driven inquiry and learning. So it's not just the teacher standing up and talking. And I really think that we are more there. And it talks about virtual learning environments, which, we were all there a couple years ago exclusively. So, but it's just funny, back then they had the foresight and using the National Technology Plan that this was the starting point of the one-to-one program in RUSD. So, and then I wanted to let anybody know if anybody wants to chime in or has a question at any time, you can go ahead and ask. So this was our first network training schedule that we had. So back then, and sort of like now, but back then it was 6 hours that parents had to do. And so we made this convoluted scheduling where parents could choose session 1 where it was 3 2-hour sessions, or they could choose session 2, which was 2 3-hour sessions, or they could go down to session 5 and choose 1 6-hour all day session. And we wanted to give parents a lot of options. It ended up being a huge headache because some parents would go to one day for the 2-hour and then want to go, I can't make it to the rest of it. So can I go to the 3-hour? And then it was just a big, huge headache. But back then we were giving the parents netbooks. They were the 10-inch screen netbooks, I believe. Anyway, so the parents would come to this training. And then when they would come to the training, Let me go back. We actually went one too far. Ooh. Is it not updating? There we go. Ooh. When the parents were done with the training, they would fill out this form for the first lesson. And so what was interesting about this form is like the first couple lessons, the parents, if they find this workshop useful, a lot of them would say very useful, like, and then they would only have like positive things to say in the first couple boxes. Well, by the time we get to lesson 6, they were basically done with us talking to them. So a lot of them were like useful and a lot of them were not useful at all because they were just completely checked out by then. And that's one of the reasons why later on we did shorten it down to 3 hours, just try to cram it all in, because the parents, like I said, after that, the 4th, 5th hour, they were done with it. And then this here was our very first parent survey that we did at the end of the school year. It's pretty hilarious that we did it in paper. I don't know why. I guess there probably wasn't a simple thing like Google Forms back then, or something you probably had to pay for it, but like SurveyMonkey or something. But we did it on paper. And if you notice the first parent survey form, that first year, we didn't survey students at all. So there's a lot of questions in here about what the student thought of having a device in the program and stuff. So they're trying to figure out what the student wanted through the parents. I think that like 2 years later, we finally had a student survey, so that way we could just ask the students directly. But it was interesting when we first did this, how many people did not have a computer at home, but didn't have internet at home. But then you also got to remember that was, I think the iPhone 4 was coming out then. So like that's how long ago it was. So yeah, I mean, they really did not have any sort of broadband service at all. The next one keeps freezing up. So this was a newsletter that Stevenson shared with us, and I wanted to share this because it showed that Stevenson and Central that first year we communicated a lot. Like we shared a lot of information with each other, with how we were doing the program and different tips. And what I found was interesting is a lot of stuff on this first newsletter still applies today. Like a lot of those programs don't, like XP Math, like we don't use that anymore, but like just the idea of like the tech tips and getting started with netbooks, like all that pretty much is still the same. Like I said, this was written 12 years ago. And then this was an article that Press Enterprise, our local newspaper in Riverside, that everybody knows about, did on the school to home program. Almost everybody mentioned this article no longer works in Riverside Unified, but I thought we'd give a shout out to our principal at the time, Pablo Sanchez, him and Jay McFell, who was the instructional technology director at the time. They were huge reasons why the program with school to home worked so well, because they worked really well with Sunny and Augustine to get buy-in from the community and from the parents. And like it was a big, huge help that they were big proponents of the program. Jay McFell was so into technology though, that like he thought that kids could do it on tablets. And so they piloted that at Ramona, and it didn't go well because you really do need a keyboard. But it is interesting, those bumps along the way that, you know, that we learned, because tablets are cheaper, because, but like I said, they did not work out. This was a newsletter we had sent out, and I thought I would highlight it because most of these teachers are gone too. Even Derek Sargent had left, but he came back to Central because he realized how amazing our school is. But one thing I found interesting was, like Shea Sun talks about creating lesson packets. Like that was one of the ways we could get buy-in from some of the more resistant teachers that like the assigned packet sort of work was, hey, you can still use the computer to do it. Of course, it wasn't ideal. It was using just the substitution, but it slowly got them on board. But it is funny, like we have a whole thing on how Gmail works, because Gmail back then was relatively new. Now, like we wouldn't even need to do a lesson on that with our teachers or parents. And then that year we used Blackboard. I think we only used Blackboard in the district for 2 years. But it was so expensive that we switched. That's when we switched to Haiku or Power School Learning. But as you can see, that first year we were using Blackboard. And one of the features that we used a lot that first 2 years was discussion boards in Blackboard. And then we went to Haiku, they didn't have that feature. So it was something that a lot of our teachers missed, and then they had to find out alternative ways to make it work. So this is we had a 16-page handbook that was sent home with parents about the program and what was happening. The full PDF is there if anybody wants to go look at all of it. I'm just gonna highlight a few of the things from the PDF that I thought was interesting. This here talks about just the school to home program and how it works, and then the 6-hour technology trainings that they would have to go through, and how we would let anybody go to the training as long as it was the same person for every lesson. But then like they went through all this training, then that's when they would of course get the device. We had most of our parents complete it. I think there was only like a few that held out and didn't. Another thing that our city offered when we were launching the program, the city had started, I think a few years before, it was called Smart Riverside, where everybody in the city could get free Wi-Fi. It didn't work very well, but one thing that Smart Riverside did do is they worked with our families. And so they would boost signals in areas where if they got a call, they would go there and make sure like the Wi-Fi access point was working in that area so those kids could get online. So it did work mostly for our community, but I know other parts of Riverside, it did not work at all. But that was a great resource for our parents because a lot of them did not have internet at home and we didn't have any really alternative at that time. And then also with Smart Riverside is if on the bottom of this one, we had a thing called technical support. And what was great about the City of Riverside is that they allowed our parents to call the 311 number and get tech help. And the great thing about it was when we weren't at school. So most of the time, so like they could call when they got home from work and they're having trouble, they could, get help with getting online, and they could even get help on the weekends. So like that was a great resource for our parents that first couple years when we were just starting off. And then this is where we are now. Because of basically School at Home and Central starting that program, our district now is 1-to-1, basically across the whole district. That never would have happened so quickly. I say quickly, but it never would have happened if it wasn't for that partnership. The hybrid learning model is the best model for our students at our school, but our district does offer now a virtual environment because some of our students do thrive in that virtual only option. And our district does provide those students with a Chromebook and a hotspot if they need it. So we no longer need that Smart Riverside. And then this year we've signed up over 100 parents for the Affordable Internet Program. And the parents seem to really like it. I'm glad that it's something that we're able to offer our parents and walk them through and get them all signed up because we had an open house a couple weeks ago. And the parents that we talked to ended up, they were loving it. So anyways, that's our slideshow.
All right. Hey, thank you, Scott. You kind of forget sometimes, like 10 years ago, 13 years ago, I remember having a couple of netbooks in my classroom when, that was supposed to be the big thing. And I appreciate the history of where it came from, especially from a guy that was there the very first day. So thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. Geraldo, you ready? Oh, wait, while he's getting ready, did anyone have any questions for Scott?
I just wanted to say thank you to Scott. I know that we have been working with them for a long time. We did have I appreciated him also giving credit to Jay and Pablo and Dr. Miller also, who was very big supporter. We did have a gap in between the transition, for a few years, and then Jay did say, "Well, come back. We need money for devices." They wanted to get some more Chromebooks at the time. I think in between that time when we started, Chromebooks became more and more the best option for schools. And then, wow, when we started, there wasn't even the smarter balance, so that kind of helped accelerate some of those things. So Sunny was able to say, well, we can't just give you money for devices. We will give you that support, but we need to do it in a way that's consistent with the work of, the school to home 10 components. So I think there was a little bit of a few years that we were out and then came back, and we were able to reconnect with Scott and Shawnee, of course, being at the helm of the school. But thank you for the recap, Scott.
Good afternoon, everyone. So here's our information, our slides. If you can click on the next slide. So this is basically kind of what we looked like prior to school to home. Barney Rubble, the Flintstones, and then how we transitioned into the future. Next slide. We were lucky enough in 2012 to join, to be able to go one-on-one. I mean, this is my third year at Chemawa. So this is going back a while, and going one-on-one with provide students with a device, and made sure, with the schools to home, with what they were able to invest in RUSD and help promote this program, and just help to enhance where we started. And I don't think we would be where we are now had it not been for the school to home support. Next slide. Partnership really led to learning from Central and what they did and what they saw as an efficient way to make things work. Some of the examples that we learned were how to organize the devices for checkout, making sure when they were checking them back in at the end of the school year, what to look for, and then the maintenance. Unfortunately, as many sites have experienced, some of our kids really do take care of their device, and some not so much. So just keeping track of the devices and how well maintained or not they are, and being able to be ready to replace those as needed for the following school year. Next slide. Big one, parent engagement. I know a lot of us are really big on that, and it's been pretty difficult the past couple years, year and a half. But really the focus of one of the commitments and the tenets for school to home is making sure that we, along with sharing information, also receiving and surveying our parents, seeing what they feel is important. One of the big ones, huge successes that we learned early on was pairing Pique with school to home, and how basic literacy, internet literacy, as well as how to email me. It's nice to every so often, once or twice a week, I get an email from a parent, and actually a few from their new device, that the computer that was donated by School to Home, how the parents using it, and they're able to access or be able, communicate with me. So it's been kind of nice that a few share that they've used the new device that was that they received to be able to email and reach out to me. Same time, basic computer classes, literacy skills, and then at the same time bringing in lectures on cyberbullying. Next slide. Our teachers, the opportunity, just like our two colleagues that shared on Desmos, as well as GimKit, how it advanced their knowledge and our knowledge, and that support from those trainings, and bringing in those strategies, those tools, especially last year when we were primarily for virtual setting, a virtual platform, providing that additional training. And one of the things that I'm sorry, next slide. I think it's on the next slide. Okay, if it's not, I'll share in a bit. But it's made communication with our parents a lot easier, and our parents and our families being able to access the information that we send out, have that be through school messenger, an email, a Google form. A lot of our parents are learning how to access those PDFs as well as applications of survey using their device, have that be a smartphone or tablet or through those students' Chromebook. At the beginning of the year, we always make sure during our Spirit Day to have parents come in and get their, if they don't have an email address, get that ready for them and open up an account, and then open up a parent portal so that way they're aware as where their student is academically and be able to check on their progress. And the important one that we always share is that's probably the easiest and fastest way via email to get hold of their teachers, the students' teachers. Next slide, please. Okay, there it is. And yeah, we learned a lot very quickly. A lot of my teachers who had not necessarily, may have not necessarily incorporated too much technology into their lessons from one day to the next. They learned it quick. But one of the nice things, compared in conversations with some of my colleagues, principals at other sites that did not have school to home, that learning curve, or had not the opportunity to partner with school to home, the learning curve was drastic for many because we had the opportunity to provide PD on technology and different online tools. My teachers were able to adapt pretty quick and bring in other online tools to enhance their lessons and make them more engaging. And again, talking to other colleagues where they did not have the opportunity, the learning curve for their teachers was extreme, and many, unfortunately, had a difficult time with that transition. But again, because we were we'd already partnered and provided that PD over the course of the years, my teachers as well as many were ready to go. Next slide, please. And again, thank you to the opportunity to provide devices, Chromebooks to our families. There's been a couple, I know for certain, because they said, "Hey, I'm emailing you from the device that I was able to receive from the school, from the trainings, from attending the trainings, and then earning that device. They're able to email me." But very nice to have some happy families, smiling families to come on site to pick those up. But and then, yeah, again, thank you. Very appreciative. Our families are very appreciative. Next slide. And yeah, just another picture of another parent. Yeah, and again, we've grown immensely. That is much appreciated. Still a lot to learn on my end, but over the course of 3 years, the support that we received, I'm sorry, 3 years I've been there, the support that we have received from School to Home has been tremendous, and we do appreciate that.
All right. Hey, thank you. It was really good to see those parents get the devices that we had. And I know Jaime had a big part in that too, of meeting those parents and getting it to them. And then tremendous growth from Shimama, just from a little bit of time that I've been here. Also, just to see the growth that you guys have made, especially with the connection with the parents. It's been really great. All right, Katie, the school to watch. It's A lot of pressure right now. Do you need me to bring it up?
If you have it, that would be easier.
Okay.
Ours probably isn't as detailed as Central and Shamawa. We should have gone first.
Oh, that wasn't it. Was a little ahead of myself there. Okay. Great slides, though. Look at there.
Sorry. It's been a busy week.
Oh, probably want me to share my screen.
I mean, that would be helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So we'll start with history. We joined School to Home in 2013, so we don't have Scott's experience, but we've been around for a while. We were the first school to go one-to-one with Chromebooks, which was fun. Lots of broken screens later. We bought an updated device and the screens didn't break as easily, and we learned a lot in the process. Year one, we did over 40 hours of training with staff in technology implementation, which I think is a huge success and made a big difference in the fact that our teachers were using them in the classroom, which gave students an incentive to bring them every day and really make the most out of what we were doing and continue to do. And then we've made gains in the use of PL strategies and technology implementation in the classroom. You can go to the next slide. Sorry, I don't have cute pictures. So successes, I've seen a drastic increase in the differentiation in our classrooms, the way teachers are able to provide like individualized support to students through technology integration. It's being used regularly in all content areas. We've made a big increase in the number of parents who are getting engaged on campus, coming to events, but also who are communicating with teachers via email, reaching out and asking questions, and logging on and checking their students' grades, which makes a big difference in everything we do. And then much greater diversity in terms of instructional strategies. Teachers are more comfortable using station rotation models and small group instruction, things like that, providing individual assignments to students than what you could really do without the technology. Of the 10 components, we believe parent engagement, education, and affordable broadband have been the two that have been most impactful for us. I think School to Home's focus on parent engagement has really set us up for success in terms of all of the things that we're doing with parent engagement now, and that intentional focus brought us, to do some of the hiring that we've done, set up our schedule in a way so that we have a person who's doing family engagement. And then just affordable broadband obviously is big in our community with as many students on free reduced lunch as we have, and the number of families that we have who just don't have internet, the ability to give them hotspots from the district or sign them up for affordable broadband has really made a big difference. We've had a lot of people, I'm not going to read all the names, but participate in School at Home through the year. Some still with us, some have not or have moved on to bigger and better things. But we appreciate all of their work and effort that they put into this, including Nadine and Steve. And then moving forward, we plan to continue to provide technology training for parents. So at our Spirit Day next year, we've talked about, we'll be offering ARIES trainings every hour on the hour and using some of the things that we put together through School at Home that we'll continue to use and offer to our families. And that's it.
All right. Thank you, Katie. Let me go ahead and stop that. So it's good to hear you talking about next year and some of the plans that you have for your parent engagement. I know that Gerardo this year used that Spirit Day to get a lot of trainings and things like that done. So we appreciate all the work that you guys have done. And just as an individual, it was just great for me just to watch these presentations and see where you guys came from and where you're at now. So I do appreciate you taking the time to put those together to kind of give us, a little history of where you guys are at and then where you're at now. So I do appreciate that. Is there any questions anybody has for any of the three schools?
I have some additional trivia that maybe Scott remembers. Scott, do you remember how we changed the parent training after our first year at Central?
No.
Okay, go back and look at the notes. So I really appreciate this from the Riverside team, because if you remember, we actually had one of our nonprofit partners, Families in Schools, come and do the facilitation of the parent workshops.
Right.
So, this was during the quote unquote design of school to home. So we were actually partnering with these schools, of course, to provide some help, but actually to learn how it could be most useful in a school setting. So there was a lot of input that they provided. So I think one of the really good suggestions that we got was that since we were trying to really use these trainings, workshops for parents as an opportunity to develop that connection between the school and the home, that there was a lot of things that were important, right? So yes, initially there's training that's focused on technology, but it's also about welcoming the parents into the classroom. And then the conversation evolved to say, well, what if there's actual school teachers or district staff that is conducting the sessions? And I think in particular where we have been able to having school teachers involved in those workshops. I know it's been crazy with distance learning, but that also in itself is very powerful, because you're getting these incoming parents, right? So we are providing the training to the school, to the teachers on how to facilitate these workshops for the adults, working with you all to design the content and things like that. So for those parents to be welcomed to the school, and in addition to that, be able to spend some time with their son or daughter's teacher that's saying, hey, I really want you guys to be part of our school community. That, I think that's a very powerful portion of the program in and of itself. And that is definitely one thing that we adjusted after implementing the program at Central. And, it is very encouraging and very heartening to hear that all of us, all the components are very important, but we know that some districts already have some things under control, and this is really designed to have a starting point and a foundation for a lot of districts, and a lot of different places will take what they already do well and really focus on with the areas that they need to strengthen. So it's just a reoccurring theme with a lot of our districts, that the work with parents is something that they have benefited on, that they benefited from our partnership as far as working with parents. But in addition to that's something that they're still going to focus on. So when I hear from Catherine of actually adjusting the hiring and doing that very intentional in a very intentional way to deepen the relationship with parents, I think it really shows that we have been able to have some level of impact. And all three of your schools definitely have a lot of lessons learned to share with the district, either other middle schools or I think even high schools and even elementary schools. So I really hope that you guys can move forward with these learning sessions and design groups that will help you provide a platform for you guys to really share all of the things that you've learned and you're doing so well. And, I think at the end of the day, I think what makes a really strong teacher is someone that could really be open to ideas and listen to what's working in one place and then really think about how they can make it work in their own classroom and take it and adjust it and collaborate in that way. So I think this new phase will lend itself to that. So, but thank you all for your participation and your collaboration over the years.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add that part about the parents, I do remember because we're able to not have that crazy schedule anymore, because we had like 8-9 teachers in different classrooms. And so we were able to accommodate more parents at one time because we had so many teachers helping with it. And the other good piece was that having our Spanish teacher do the Spanish class, because she had a lot of those kids anyways. And so she was able to build that relationship with those parents like before school even started. So that was also huge. But yeah, I remember the switch. I just didn't remember that was, yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks, Scott. Thanks, Augustine. So the last part here is just going to be some planning time. And I just want to share something real quick with you. A couple of things. One is over here. Some of you have already kind of had some kind of parent recognition. I know Uni had a parent of the month and recognized them. And so we were thinking that maybe we could recognize those parents that went to multiple workshops. And what we did is there is a sample of one right here that you can use and just give them out. It's not that you necessarily have to have a special day set aside, because I know for Riverside, you're in that 4-week period now, almost 4 weeks. But maybe, call them if they want to come into the office or something and receive their certificate. So we have that. And like Augustine said at the very beginning, I'll have some meetings with you guys at the end. We'll just kind of debrief a little bit and then go from there. Surveys. So here's what we got. We're gonna have a parent survey competition, and it's going to be on percentage. All right. So whoever has the highest percentage, I will personally come up with something for your school. Okay. So right now, Uni, you lead by one parent. All right. Over Shamala. Okay. And we just started. So we're excited. I didn't think you guys already pushed it out, but you guys already got some. And so we'll push that out. I know we're going to give you some time in just a minute to kind of plan out, hey, what is it, dates that you want to push things out? What are you going to do? I know Katie talked about bribing the kids with cookies and those kinds of things. And so we'll give you some time for that. Also, School at Home, we'll do this for each school. If you hit 70% of your parents and 90% of your teachers, each school will get a $500 donation from School at Home. So there'll be an overall winner. And then if you also hit those marks, 70% for parents, 90% for teachers, then the school will get a $500 donation from School at Home. Okay. Also, this is it at the end of May. That's going to be it for Nadine. She'll be going back into the classroom. Her TOSA assignment is up. And I know if it wasn't for Nadine, I don't know how much would have got done if it was left up to me. She did an amazing amount of work behind the scenes. She also worked in each of your school sites, and she was just amazing. I would just give her an idea and then she would just run with it. And so just as a little appreciation, I was going to try to put together a little video for her. And people on your campus, could be the admin, it could be your PL lead, your PT lead, anybody. If you just want to make just like a little video, you could use Screencastify, use Zoom, Google Classroom, Google Meet, just make some kind of small video. And then if you could send me the link, what I want to do is take everybody's video and then mesh it together and put some background music and stuff like that to make her cry. So then give that to her so she just has a little remembrance of her time with us, school to home, and also with the 3 middle schools. So if you could get that, and if you could do that by May 16th, that would be awesome. And then I could put it all together. Also, I did put the ACP there. The presentation is still there if you like. And also we have some flyers if you want to print them out. They're both in English and Spanish for you. And then other than that, I just kind of made you a little worksheet if you want to put your information on there. And then there's also a box at the bottom. If you have any other comments that you need from me or you want me to look into, let me know in that box and I'll get that to you. It's just going to be kind of a short one, 15 minutes. And you can look at it. And of course, if you don't finish it, just you can send it to me later because we did run over a little bit. All right. So any questions that you guys have up to this point? Okay. All right. I'm going to put you into breakout room. So, well, actually, you put your own self in the big breakout room. Uni, you always go last because of the U. So you get to move up. You're in breakout room number one. Central, you'll be in number 2, and then Shamawa, you'll be in number 3. There is a link right there. So if I pulled up unis, this is what it's going to look like. So you'll have that there for you. And then the last, oh no, that'd be it. I'll talk about the principal thing when everyone comes back. Okay, so let me open up the breakout rooms for you. All right. So we'll come to the end. One of the things I had the Wakelet. If I know it's getting late, so we won't be able to hit it tonight, but if you could just take a look at it. What I'm going to do is once I get Jen's video and Maddie's video, I'll put that on there under teaching strategies. And so I'll add that to the Wakelet. But if you do go to it, even if you don't like it, just hit like. That way we can, that's the only way to count how many people are actually going to the Wakelet. And so if you're a math person, if you could get maybe some of your people in your department to take a quick look at it, see if it's helpful or not, and then send me some information if there's suggestions that they might have for it. All right. So this is the end. We come to our regional learning community number 3, coming quick to an end here. We have an exit ticket. Just before the link is in there in the chat if you want to go ahead and start working on it. Principals, this is one's for you. I'm looking at 2 dates, May 10th or May 17th, where we could go to the Green Chili again. And I can buy you breakfast and just have a time where we can just eat and have a good time. And then we also want to make it sure it's a date that Katie can actually eat breakfast this time. So if you can just let me know which date works best for you. If both dates work best, just say both of them. And then I'll make sure we get that all taken care of. All right. So Augustine, anything that you have?
Just thank you guys. And on the Wakelet, Steve's been working very hard to figure out just one of the best ways to share some of the helpful resources, presentations, and things like that. So when you do take a look at it, let us know if it's helpful, or make suggestions on other ways that we can share. We started out with this resource compilation of resources on math, but we can expand to other areas, and we want to just foster that collaboration and communication between all of our different school partners. So please do take a look at that. So other than that, thank you very much for spending your time with us. We really appreciate it.